Could it happen again? What am I talking about? Could it happen again? Could it happen that we have another pandemic again? And would it be a similar response that everybody's encouraged to take some form of medical intervention in view of what we've witnessed over the last 2 years? I just wonder, because you keep hearing rumours and suggestions and things like that, that it's likely to happen again. I mean, firstly, from what I understand, these pandemics and these sort of huge responses that we have seen with this one come almost like a generation apart, don't they? So to expect something that could happen in the next year or so, or even this year, as some people are suggesting, seems very odd to me. It seems very strange that we could possibly go through this again. And if we did, would we not be in a position in which it's so fresh in our memory, the way things happened, and not everybody is happy with the way it happened. People are protesting, people are suspicious, people are nervous and worried. They certainly have little respect, it seems, for the medical industry, for big pharma, come to that, or indeed with the government and the way that they have responded to it, or not engaged with certain questions, shall we say, about the efficacy of this medical procedure. And it just made me wonder, because, you know, if you go on social media and you hear people saying, oh, well, there's something else coming, and you think, right, really? How would everybody respond to that? Would people just embrace it in the same way as they did before? Or would they be slightly wary? How would they persuade people to rush out for another experimental medical intervention, if that's what it was? So one of the rumours, and I can't say if this is true or not, it's not, I'm no expert, as you know, and I don't even pretend to be. I just sit here and question what's going on. So one of the things is that there's going to be some form of bird flu. Well, we've heard that eggs seem to be a bit of a problem at the moment with farmers. It's a shame, because I think that actually in the yolk of an egg there's something in there that's actually quite beneficial against the difficulties of this medical procedure. But anyway, for some reason we don't have many eggs, and I understand the official thing is there's a lot of avian flu, I think it's called, isn't there? And so some people are saying that, well, it's that could be a bit of a problem for us, and there may be a bit of a pandemic on that. And you think, what, another one? What, so soon? That does seem, you know, suspicious, really, doesn't it? It would seem very suspicious if there was another pandemic within a few years of the first. That would just seem very odd. And then actually, when you think about it, that could make sense, actually, because if people's immune systems have been lowered by an experimental medical procedure that isn't perhaps as effective as maybe we were told it was, then maybe there could be a problem with that. But those of us who have a natural immune system may be okay, and maybe would be in the best position to sort of take the brunt. But even if we were encouraged, you know, to take some other medical procedure in order to combat this thing, and you know, particularly for the children, saving the children, of course, is what everybody wants to do naturally, and there may well be pressure like there was before. But I just wonder whether people would want to do it this time, whether they would trust it, because when you look online, and I can't verify any of these things, can I? But when you look online, you do hear that there seems to be a lot of people who've had adverse effects from the last medical procedure. And you don't really want to hear that, do you? If you're suddenly going to have to take something else, you don't really want to be worried by the fact that there seems to be a loud voice elsewhere. Not that mainstream media, of course, good old mainstream media, or indeed the wonderful and benevolent government, who clearly have our best interests at heart, at deep in the seat of power. So you just think they must know, mustn't they? They must know that it's for our benefit. But then they did say that before, and it just seemed a bit problematical. And I think a lot of people got a bit nervous. I mean, I think the official figure is something like 96% of people are not very keen on having the booster, and now they're saying actually you don't need it if you're under 50 or something like that, which makes you think then, well, rather than saying that's a success, it seems that maybe it's an admission of failure, that actually this thing is not as good as it was. I don't know. There are also rumours that, of course, if something happened, it may well be that the World Health Organization get involved. I understand that there are treaties that have been ready to be signed and ratified. They haven't been yet, but I understand that they are ready and waiting. I think 2024, but of course if there was an emergency before then, perhaps it would be rushed, in which there would be one organisation who nobody's actually voted for, which is, I think, a bit strange, isn't it? I don't mind an organisation taking care of my health if I've actually voted for them, agree with their credentials and think that they are law-abiding, beneficial, caring organisation that think that, my future is important to them. But I don't know who these people are. I haven't voted for them. They haven't put themselves up for scrutiny. And I can't see that there would be a situation, even with a pandemic that goes around the world, in which one step fits everybody, that one thing is going to be beneficial to everybody. This sort of top pyramid going down, saying, well, we know best for the whole world. See, my philosophy is actually that small is better, that local communities know what's good for their local community. Local policing, local government, local medical practitioners who understand the people in their environment. Because, in England, for example, where I live, the geology, the weather and the makeup of the people are going to be very different from, say, 100 miles to the north, just in England. And you get up into other countries like Wales and Scotland. The geology very much, it makes microclimates of the weather. So things are very different all over in little pockets. Well, you can imagine what that's like across the world. And I can't see that anybody would want to govern in a way where somebody sitting in one part of the world could possibly know what's best for the rest of the world and say, oh, actually, we've got this pandemic, everybody needs to take this one single medical solution. Never mind the fact that you might be a bit concerned because when we did it before, there was a bit of outcry and there was a bit of trouble and what have you. We didn't really see that with the polio and the measles and things like that. We did see it with thalidomide, didn't we? We did see that, and it soon got stopped, but it didn't get stopped too quickly. So I'm not sure that this one government business, this one, especially outside our own government, would be the right way of doing it. Personally, I would think that would be, I would be very nervous about that. And I would be worried that our sovereignty as people of this land could even legally be, well, ratified on a treaty to other people whom we don't know, mysterious unelected people. So I just wonder really whether it could happen again and whether people would let it happen again. After all, we're all sovereign ourselves. We all think differently. We're not, as far as I know, we're not living in a tyrannical government, with a dictatorship. Although, of course, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Although we are sovereign, the people are sovereign, and we should decide if we want things like 15-minute cities and digital currency, and not have these foisted upon us. I do think that sometimes the powers that be are running away with what they think is good for us, whether it be another pandemic and the response and how we would deal with that, or whether they want to take away cash, which is so important for private transactions. It just seems everything is rushing along at a rate of knots that nobody's actually asked for. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks like this. Maybe you do. Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know. But if there was another pandemic, heaven forbid, I wonder what your response would be.